The story begins in the Theed's royal palace. Yoda tells Obi-Wan that a grave danger he fears in Anakin's training, but Obi-Wan tells Yoda that he gave Qui-Gon his word. He will train Anakin. Yoda responds, saying that he will not. Obi-Wan gets irritated. He tells Yoda that if he will not be allowed to train Anakin, he will leave the order with him and still train him. Yoda jumps in, saying that Obi-Wan didn't let him finish. Agree with him, the council does. Young Skywalker will be trained, but train him I will. Experienced enough to have a Padawan? You are not, Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan looked at the floor, processing the information. He didn't know how to feel about it. He told Qui-Gon that he would train him. So technically that's not what Qui-Gon told him to do. But Qui-Gon probably told him to train the boy only because he thought that other Jedi Masters wouldn't. So yeah, this was acceptable. He looks up, giving Yoda a polite nod. A few weeks later, in the Jedi Temple, Yoda was sitting in his meditation chambers trying to focus, but he couldn't. Anakin was next to him. His thoughts were rushing and unfocused, and he was constantly changing positions. Yoda could sense the danger in the boy. Qui-Gon was a great Jedi, but this was a mistake. Anakin was too old, too passionate, and filled with emotions. And for the first time in hundreds of years, Yoda was unsure if he could actually train his new Padawan. Every day, Yoda and Anakin would meditate together, but it was all for nothing. Meditation just wasn't something Anakin was good at. Yoda was patient and serene, but deep down, he knew Anakin was just not Jedi material. Regardless, he would train the boy, at least until he was sure he wasn't too dangerous. Throughout the next couple of months, the boy would grow close to Yoda. Anakin desperately craved a father figure, someone to guide him, someone to get close to. He got close to other Padawans. Some were nice, some were just slemos, but at least they inspired some emotions in Anakin. Yoda, on the other hand, did not. He was just neutral, no emotions, just calm serenity, which made Anakin mad. He was explosive and passionate, while Yoda was the complete opposite. And Anakin knew Yoda, and he would never be close. In the following months, while other Padawans were going on exciting missions with their masters, Yoda and Anakin would leave the temple only occasionally. And even then, it was usually for meditation retreats or solitude on forest planets. Sometimes Anakin would encounter Obi-Wan in the temple. They didn't talk often, but when they did, Anakin didn't hesitate to express his frustration to Obi-Wan. He told him that Yoda is boring and that he wishes he was his master. Obi-Wan always smiled upon hearing comments like that. Anakin just didn't grasp the whole picture yet. Obi-Wan always assured Anakin that if anyone knows what's best for him, it's Yoda. He's the wisest of all of them. When Anakin was 11, he and Yoda would travel to Hoth, where Anakin would find a green kyber crystal, which he would use to construct his own lightsaber. Anakin thought that finally he would begin his lightsaber training. Finally, there would be some action happening in his life, but he was wrong. Soon, Anakin and Yoda would travel to the remote world of Lasan, located in wild space. Anakin thought that finally he would be doing something interesting, like all other Padawans of his age. Maybe they would be looking for a spice dealer hiding on the planet, or corrupt bureaucrats that fled to the planet and hoped the Republic would not track them down. Unfortunately for Anakin, he couldn't be more wrong. Yoda and Anakin traveled to a small village inhabited by humanoid mammals called Lasats. The shelters were built out of mud, and somehow, under the huge blazing sun, the planet was warmer than even Tatooine. Yoda spoke to the natives. It was obvious that they had a long history. Yoda told Anakin that he will spend some time on the planet in isolation. He will live with this tribe. Sometimes, if they need any help, they will ask him. But in general, he must meditate every day for hours. Clear his mind, his frustration, and ambition. Feel the Force around him. Lasats have a special connection to the Force. Learn from them. Anakin was not happy about this, but nonetheless, Yoda left, and Anakin was left with these beings. He didn't even understand their language, yet he's supposed to work for them? Months would go by, and Anakin was still living with the Lasat tribe. He didn't meditate a lot like Yoda instructed him to. He was beginning to understand the language of Lasats well by now. He was working for the tribe's mechanic. They fixed things together. Anakin was good at fixing things. He always was. And somehow, he got closer to this mechanic in a few months than he ever did to Yoda. In his spare time, Anakin would play with his lightsaber, walking around, cutting down random things he found nearby the village. He had no idea it would last this long. Yoda just left him here. As far as he's concerned, he doesn't even know if Anakin is still alive. Eventually, Yoda would arrive back to the tribe. He would thank his old friends for taking care of Anakin, and they would leave. Yoda expected Anakin to be different from a few months back, and he was, but not in the way Yoda hoped he would be. He expected Anakin's mind would be clear of distractions and frustration connected to the Force. answers. But instead, Anakin was angrier than ever, frustrated with the lack of lightsaber training and anything he thought that being a Jedi would be like. And Yoda just left him with this tribe for months? He probably completely forgot about him. And now he had to say goodbye to the only being he got close to in years, the old mechanic of the tribe. Anakin was not in a good place, but he would soon find a new being to get close to. Chancellor Palpatine, Sheev, was always kind to Anakin. He always treated him like his own son. He was the only person Anakin could really relate to. Finally, Anakin would also start his lightsaber training. It was hard, based on countless repetitions. There were no interesting spins and techniques, only repetitive, boring movements all day, every day. Finally, after all of these years, Yoda would also start traveling to different worlds with Anakin, where they would finally encounter some action. On multiple occasions, Anakin got close to people on these missions. There was a Twi'lek girl on Ryloth Anakin grew close to, and a boy on Onderon, but Yoda always forced him to let go. Let go of his attachment. It was especially hard for Anakin because these systems were collapsing, especially as the Trade Federation grew in power. The taxation became so high, this world could not afford to pay for even basic supplies anymore. Anakin would be forced to watch as the systems collapse and let his friends suffer. Yoda knew exactly what he was doing. He was forcing Anakin to let go, watch people close to him suffer, and not do anything about it. It would be the ultimate test for Anakin. Can he let go or not? And Anakin did eventually let go. He never forgot, but he did let go. And Yoda was most pleased to see this. Anakin would remain impulsive and hot-headed, but at least he learned to let go of everything he feared to lose. Anakin and Yoda also traveled to Malachor, where, in an old Sith temple, Anakin would be confronted with visions, everything from him turning to the dark side to people closest to him dying. But Anakin did not linger. And as they eventually left the Sith world, Anakin was calm and serene, and that made Yoda very happy. No matter what he encountered, no matter what he endured, Anakin stayed calm and balanced. His mind wasn't perfect, of course. It would take time for him to fully embrace the entire mentality of a Jedi, but it was a very solid start. Just before the beginning of the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan would be assigned to find Padme's assassin while his apprentice, Bant Earring, would serve as Padme's protection. Soon, both Obi-Wan and Banth Earin would be declared dead, executed on Geonosis by Count Dooku and Viceroy Gunray. The revelation saddened Anakin deeply. One of his best friends, Obi-Wan, was dead. He never got too close to him, but he was the person responsible for giving Anakin the life he has. Without him, he wouldn't be where he is today, and he was forever grateful to Obi-Wan for that. While all of that was happening, Anakin would also start to have dreams about Shmi's death. He discussed his premonitions with his master. Yoda advised him to be careful when sensing the future. Fear of loss is a path to the dark side, so Anakin would let go and let the visions become reality. Throughout all of that, his mother dying, and Obi-Wan, Anakin was able to remain calm, focused. There was not a glimpse of revengeful thoughts in him. Throughout the Clone Wars, Anakin would fight with the clones, but not as much as the other Jedi. Yoda wouldn't allow it. Anakin was still a special case. He was 9 when he arrived at the temple. Yoda would still need to have him under control. He was assigned to the 41st Scout Battalion and made commander, serving under General Yoda. He would fight along with Yoda in battles such as the Battle of Rogusa. Yoda would also allow Anakin to lead some Outer Rim sieges, but for the most part, they were not very involved in the war. Yoda was old, and Anakin still needed to practice his lightsaber forms. They never went on any actual dangerous missions, so he's not ready for participating in a war yet. Besides, the boy is still dangerous. The war would continue, and as the galaxy would exhaust its resources, fighting battle after battle, the war would finally start to wrap up. Eventually, Grievous and Dooku would lead an attack on the Republic's capital. Anakin and Yoda would not participate in the space battle as many Jedi did. They would stay on Coruscant, helping civilians and fighting the droids. After some time, the battle would take a swift turn. Dooku would be sent to kidnap the Chancellor. Palpatine knew that there's only one way to test if Anakin could be his potential apprentice. He needs to get him in a fight with Dooku. If he wins and strikes Dooku down, he will be ready to embrace the dark side. If not, he is not ready to be turned yet. So Anakin arrived at the 500 Republica. He and mixed clone battalions, and also the Coruscant Guard, made their way deep into the lower levels of 500 Republica, where Palpatine was hiding. They would find Palpatine in a big hangar, built to house the 500 Republica Security Forces, LAATs. Anakin found Palpatine there, but it was a trap. From behind one of of the ships, Dooku appeared, igniting his saber. Anakin ignited his green saber, the verdant glow of the saber reflecting off the LAATs and shiny, polished hangar floors. Dooku warned Anakin to stand down. Anakin insisted that Dooku give over the Supreme Chancellor, to which Dooku just responded that Anakin would have to make him. Anakin gave the clones a hand gesture, ordering them to stand down. There's no point in blasting towards them both while they clash, so Anakin gave the Count of Sereno one final warning before lunging at him. Anakin charged, a blur of motion, his green blade clashing with Dooku's red. Their lightsabers crackle and flash between the landing gear of the LAATs. Dooku deflected Anakin's strikes with effortless grace, fighting one-handed at first. Dooku flicks his wrist, disarming Anakin briefly, sending the green saber skittering. Anakin uses the Force to pull it back into his hand, barely in time to block a follow-up slash. Surely, you can do better. Anakin's fury flashed. His strikes became heavier, more reckless. Dooku raises his second hand, now fully engaged. He begins pushing Anakin back, using powerful, classical Makashi flourishes. They duel across the hangar, slicing through equipment and sparking against the durasteel floor. Anakin nearly finds an opening, but Dooku is simply too good. A well-placed kick sends Anakin sprawling against the wing of a LAAT. You have potential, but you're not ready. With a final, precise strike, Dooku knocks the saber from Anakin's hand and holds his red blade to Anakin's throat. But then Dooku hears grunts he could recognize anywhere. He turns. Yoda was standing in front of the clones. Over it is Dooku. Hand over the Chancellor. You must. Dooku thinks for a second, then responds that he became stronger than any Jedi, even Yoda. From his hands, forks of lightning appear, but Yoda easily absorbs them and sends them flying back towards Dooku, who barely manages to redirect his own lightning. The fight from here on would go pretty much exactly as the one from Attack of the Clones. Yoda spins with unnatural speed. Dooku immediately knows he's outmatched. He becomes increasingly tired, and after a minute of Yoda's ongoing attacks, the lightsaber flies from his hand. Sadly for Dooku, there's no escape this time. The area is surrounded. Yoda won. As simple as that. Dooku would be arrested, and the end of the war, once an unthinkable thought, would begin to seem plausible now. So, in the next few days, Palpatine would ask Anakin to be his personal representative on the Jedi Council. He didn't win against Dooku, sure, but Palpatine saw the potential. He saw the raw fury he didn't see in the boy for years. Thankfully, it was still in there. Anakin had to politely decline the Chancellor's polite offer. He's not even a master. He told Palpatine he should probably ask a Jedi Master who's already on the Council for something like that. Palpatine said that he needs him. He doesn't trust any other Jedi. But Anakin declined. He was not ready to be a Master. He was just made a Knight. This angered Palpatine a lot. So, in the coming days, as Master Fisto would engage Grievous on Utapau, and Yoda went to Kashyyyk, because, of course, he has a good relationship with the Wookiees, Anakin would once again be in Palpatine's office. Palpatine could feel the boy slipping. The rage he felt in him years ago, the conflict, was gone. He had to act now, or he will lose him entirely to the Jedi. So Palpatine turned away from Anakin. He asked him if he still had those visions of Jedi dying, and Anakin said yes, more and more actually. So Palpatine smiled and started telling Anakin about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. After he was finished, Anakin asked what the meaning of the story was. Palpatine smiled before explaining that Plagueis could save others, but not himself. And if they won't be careful, the same will happen to the Jedi. The room was silent, filled with tension. Palpatine spoke again, telling Anakin that his passion and fury got replaced with just a still calmness through the years. He's losing his main strength, his raging fury. I know it's still down there, son. Use it. To save the Jedi from what's coming, you'll need it. Now, Anakin ignited his saber. You're the Sith Lord. Palpatine explained that the Jedi will soon be nothing but extinct if he does not do something. He can help him. If he embraces his emotion, he, the Chosen One, can stop it. Anakin said that he'll turn Palpatine over to the Jedi Council. Palpatine said that he can do that. None of them can stop what is coming anyway. Only he can. So Anakin would rush back to the temple. He found Master Windu and told him that he just learned the terrible truth. Chancellor Palpatine is the Sith Lord, so Windu says that they need to act immediately. So Windu, Skywalker, Kohler, and Tin would fly to the Chancellor's office. They would make their way past the royal guards and storm inside Palpatine's office. Windu would declare that the Chancellor is under arrest. Behind him, Anakin stood, determined. Palpatine looked down in disappointment, realizing he would have to strike Anakin down. So he ignited his saber lightsaber and lunged at the Jedi. Palpatine moved with an unnatural speed, striking down Kolar in a fraction of a second. Tin followed immediately after. Windu and Skywalker were pushed into a tight hallway. Palpatine kept advancing. Mace stood tall at the forefront, blade of amethyst humming with restrained fury. Behind him, Anakin, lightsaber glowing green, an emerald torch against the coming storm. His breath fast, but his focus ironbound. His eyes were locked on Palpatine. The Sith Lord's robes were tattered and smoking, the first saber in his hand dripping sparks, its crimson glow casting demonic shadows on the durasteel walls. But still, he advanced, cackling low and cruel. Their blades crashed again and again, violet and red flaring in sparks that danced across the floor. Palpatine spun, the blade whipping in a blur, forcing Windu into retreat. Anakin leapt in from the flank, blade slashing in a brilliant arc meant to cleave the Sith in two. But Palpatine was ready. With a snarl, he twisted and parried, his boot slamming into Anakin's chest and sending him skidding back. Before Windu could press the opening, Palpatine's hand flicked toward his belt. His second lightsaber snapped to his grasp and ignited with a hiss. Twin blades now, crimson fury. He became a storm of death, advancing, pressing both Jedi back step by step. Their defense was tight, but Palpatine was unrelenting. Then, crack, a lucky strike. A red blade swept low and sliced deep into Anakin's left forearm. The young knight shouted, clutching the wound, the saber falling loose from nerveless fingers, blood mixed with smoke and ash. He fell to a knee, teeth bared in pain. Glass shattered overhead as the battle spilled toward the viewport. A section of the massive window exploded outward under the force of the duel, and cold Coruscanti wind howled into the room. The city's lights below glistened like stars fallen to the surface. Palpatine's face twisted into a mask of false agony. Treason! He screamed, his voice shrill and echoing across the Senate district. He turned and leapt, cloak flaring like the wings of a vulture, vanishing into the night wind. Windu didn't hesitate. Anakin was already up, eyes blazing with a fury that matched any Sith's. His right hand still held his green saber. He surged forward with the Force, launching from the shattered window after the fleeing Sith. The three figures tumbled across a landing platform, blades igniting again in the night. Anakin struck first, his power raw, elemental, each blow crashing like a falling star. Palpatine matched it with cold skill, deflecting, countering, and slowly driving Anakin back. But Anakin did not yield. He fought with both hands on his saber, his wounded arm hanging limp, his face twisted with pain and purpose. Still, Palpatine roared, and with a powerful strike, disarmed Anakin, kicking him hard across the chest. The knight collapsed again. Gasping, Palpatine turned. Too late. Windu's blade met Palpatine's with the sound of thunder. One saber flew from the Sith's hand, then the second clattered across the platform a heartbeat later. Palpatine was on his knees, panting, eyes wide and hateful. "You are under arrest, Chancellor," Windu growled, saber at his throat. Rain began to fall. Palpatine hissed, his lips trembling with rage. "The Jedi are traitors." Anakin, bleeding and breathless, stood behind Windu. "No, you are." Suddenly, shining lights of clone gunships appeared, illuminating the Jedi and the defeated Sith. Clones insisted that the Jedi stand down, but Windu spoke, explaining that Palpatine is the Sith Lord they've been looking for. Who are they going to trust? The Jedi who fought with them all of these years, or the Sith Lord in front of them? But clones insisted, so the Jedi stepped down. However, clones were not fools. They arrested all three of them, and after a deep investigation, it was obvious. The evidence was overwhelming. Palpatine really was a Sith Lord. After the realization, Yoda immediately returned to Coruscant. Anakin expected his master to be cold and distant as always, but this time it was different. Yoda was serene, a big smile on his face, greeting Anakin with an enthusiastic nod. Anakin asked him why he feels so different in the Force. Yoda just said that the Sith threat is gone, and Anakin did the right thing. Ready he is. Trust him, he does. There's no need to hide his happiness. The Jedi are calm and balanced, but even they can show emotion sometimes. Anakin was kind of shocked. He never really saw his master in this kind of state. He was so full of emotion. But also Coruscant was different as well. The darkness was gone. Palpatine was locked into a Mandalorian prison cell made specifically for Jedi. The Senate elected a new chancellor, Bail Organa of Alderaan. Because Republic intelligence investigated Palpatine's hollow computer and his personal datapads as well, it was easy to find the exact location of the Separatist leaders. They were arrested, and the droid army was shut down. The war was not completely over. Many droid battalions were still active, but the droid army was less than a small fraction of what it once was. So it was easy for the clones to score the ultimate victory in the conflict, for real this time. Most separatist systems, after the realization that Count Dooku worked with the Sith, rejoined the Republic. Some still wanted to stay split up. General Grievous was obviously destroyed by Kit Fisto, and negotiations finally took place, just as Padme always wanted. 6 years later, Anakin was finally granted the seat on the council after being made a Jedi Master. He was 28 years old now, easily one of the strongest Jedi on the council, although his exact position into the top 3 was debated by the youngling all the time. Soon Yoda would also pass away, but before he did, he said some unexpected words to Anakin that he would always hold close for his entire life. "Love you, I did, Skywalker." And so the galaxy stabilized, and Plo Koon was made the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, and the galaxy was peaceful. Well, the galaxy was still full of slaves and criminals, but yeah, peaceful.